8.9 billion francs CFA is the amount disbursed by the government of Cameroon for the reconstruction of the northwest and southwest region hit by the socio-political upheaval. In this newscast, Amnesty International, in a recent publication of 5th May 2020, has urged Cameroonian authorities to clean on the reality of the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Details of this and more will be yours in a bit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television. I am Catherine KONE. As earlier mentioned on our headlines, the government of Cameroon has released about 8.9 billion francs CFA, being 10% of the reconstruction of the northwest and southwest region signed Tuesday by the Minister of Economy, Alamin Ousmane May, a gesture which has not been well saluted by some political actors aimed at bringing a definite solution to the Anglophone crisis. Details of this with Josephine Binze.
An 8.9 billion CFA accord has been signed by the Minister of Economy, Alamin Ousmane May, as part of the presidential plan for the reconstruction of the northwest and southwest regions. A move which has not been applauded by some political actors in Cameroon.
And this is 10% which has been released by the government. But we do not have government once again, as usual. They are not talking to us. We do not know what are they going to do with this 8.9 billion that they have released. What is the priority? What are they doing as step one? When will step two come? How is it going to actually impact the people in the northwest and southwest getting back to some kind of normal life? So, we see this once again as government has been playing with gimmicks. They have been playing games with the Anglophone population for 4 years, and this is why this problem has not been resolved.
The plain-spoken Kawala says the Anglophone population stands a better chance to determine her priorities.
To say what should be done first and what should be done second. To say what government should do and what they themselves as a population should do. Government is repeating the same mistake. They have made a budget without consulting anybody. They have a plan which nobody knows. They are making decisions without informing the population, thereby marginalizing them further. Reconstruction has to be based on a solid foundation. If you want to reconstruct where there has been destruction, then you must make sure that you have put into place the required conditions so that that reconstruction will not suffer the same fate.
This represents 10% of the global budget of 89.62 billion CFA francs as per the United Nations Reconstruction Program. This is just a tip of the iceberg, as it should cover ghost towns, insecurities, and destruction of diverse structures which have crippled the socio-economic structure of these zones.
And mayors in the country's economic capital, Douala, and the political capital, Yaoundé, have been called up to beef up the hygiene and sanitation measures in their municipalities. The order was made by the Communication Minister, Brene Emmanuel Sadi, in a meeting in Yaoundé Tuesday. He added that the uplifting of COVID-19 measures is not a guarantee that the virus has been defeated. Emmanuel Kenjisi report.
Minister Emmanuel Rene Sadi, who chaired this session, remarked in his opening speech that Cameroonians are happy over the lifting of the anti-COVID-19 restrictive measures last April 30th. He, however, cautioned the population to continue applying the prescribed preventive measure, adding that the battle is not yet won. It is evident Cameroon has not yet defeated this pandemic. Cameroon is, however, on the right path. But we urge all citizens to respect the various barrier measures prescribed against COVID-19. The city mayor of Douala, on his part, urged the population to go about responsibly in their activities to avoid contracting the virus. The Minister of Communication invited us here to brainstorm on how to inform the entire population that coronavirus has not yet been eradicated. Therefore, everyone should be responsible as they go about their daily activities in order to avoid contamination. To the mayor of Yaoundé 5, this meeting is important as it has inspired him to resume sensitization campaign.
I think that I will resume the sensitization campaign because we have the feeling that the population did not understand very well the recent measure which has been pronounced by the Prime Minister. Now we see that nobody wants more to wear his mask, nobody wants more to wear his hands, nobody wants to observe the distanciation measure. So it is important to sensitize the population that they should not stop observing those methods.
In summary, all the decentralization administrators have been assigned to rekindle anti-COVID-19 sensitization in both urban and rural areas. The goal is to reach the layman in his native language where necessary.
And as mentioned in our headlines, Amnesty International has called on Cameroon authorities to clean on the reality of the spread of COVID-19 in the country's prison, provide detainees with adequate medical care. Details with Ajara Ali.
According to this content of recent publication of May 2020 by Amnesty International Organization, urging the government of Cameroon to release prisoners of conscience, that is those jailed with legal basis like Mamadou Mota and the Anglophone detainees for protesting peacefully against political irregularities and social rights in the English-speaking regions. Some detainees, like the former director of CRTV, Amadou Vamolke, jailed since 2016, should also be given justice as demanded by the human rights organization. Amnesty International says government silence since the increased spread of COVID-19 into the country is jeopardizing the rights of these prisoners of conscience. The organization equally saluted government partial move of April 15th presidential decree commuting and remuting sentence to hundreds of prisoners. To them, this decision is insufficient to fight the spread of COVID-19 in detention and urgently still expect much to be done to release the elderly political prisoners to enjoy health care out of prisons as signs of freedom and justice.
Some 35 associations here in the Douala municipality have received the presidential donation to fight COVID-19 ravishing or to help them fight the ravishing COVID-19. Details with John Paul Sama.
The presidential aid destined to help Cameroonians fight the coronavirus has been handed down to local associations in the Douala municipality. The over 35 associations received 1,000 face masks, soap, amongst other things, under the watchful eyes of the mayor.
La preuve, c'est la démonstration par laquelle le chef de l'État a.
This is to show that the head of state is keeping tabs on everyone and those in the Douala municipality in particular. This is a manifestation of his magnanimity, which brings applause to all the efforts we have been putting in to eradicate the pandemic. The recipients say they already have a well worked out plan for distribution to the community.
I am happy because it is going to help us and we are going to share them out immediately.
Donc nous allons les distribuer dès que nous sommes partis d'ici là.
Très exactement, la distribution va se passer de telle enseigne que on va particulièrement appeler.
We are going to call up mothers and old persons who are most vulnerable to this disease. We are going to distribute it as soon as possible.
Nous allons appeler dans les plus brefs délais. Je pense que ce sera fait dès demain par la voix de leurs notables.
The population have also been called upon to respect scrupulously the barrier measures put in place by the government to combat this virus.
Welcome back here in Douala, the National Syndicate for Journalists in Cameroon, in its French acronym SNJC, have stretched an arm of solidarity to journalists at Spectrum TV. They provided some COVID-19 prevention items like face masks, a hydroalcoholic solution to help media men and women combat the spread of COVID-19 virus, as they stand at the front line of information to give the public updates of the COVID-19 spread in Cameroon. This act of goodwill was done today at the Spectrum office in Accra. We now take you to Yaoundé, where the two opposing transporters trade union that failed to organize two strike actions last month in Yaoundé are satisfied after the government of Cameroon on April 30th granted some of their demands in the anti-COVID-19 easing measures. Details with Manuel Kenjisi.
After failing to put up two strikes last April, one opposing transporters trade union leader is now satisfied with the government of Cameroon for lifting restrictive measures earlier imposed owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are satisfied because government has addressed most of our demands. We had been appealing on the government to reduce the price of fuel. However, it decided to permit us carry 4 passengers. Also, we appealed on the state to suspend our taxes during this challenging period of coronavirus. We are satisfied because the state has accepted to suspend the taxes. Also, we are pleased to announce that the government has put to our disposal the COVID-19 preventive kits, which is available now in all regions through the Ministry of Public Health. One of the warring factions, the Cameroon National Trade Union of Urban, Inter-Urban and Truck Drivers, which was accused by its counterpart, Sinatrakam, of fueling the strikes, now debunks such claims.
La loi est claire. Il interdit l'ingérence.
The labor code is clear here. Interference into people's affairs is forbidden. But we are surprised to find out that while we put forth our grievances to the government, another group of transport trade unionists who were not present during our meeting with the government went about spreading claims that they are advocating for the state. They have been using dishonest means in a bid to bring disharmony to the transporters trade union. The president, however, thinks the government too has not been responsible in handling the issue.
Il faudra que le gouvernement aussi apprenne à dialoguer, et un vrai dialogue. Le gouvernement ne fait pas le dialogue.
I think the government too, on its part, should learn to organize timely dialogue each time we show up with problems. The government does not respect its promise. Most often, when we present our worries and give a 10-day deadline, they will only call us for a meeting 2 days to weekend, and most at times they end up postponing the meeting with promise to look into the problem.
Les 2 jours c'est le week-end. Bon, maintenant ils disent que OK, vous voyez il n'y a plus assez de temps. Après ils disent que non, on va régler.
It should be said, after several attempts, STV could not get to the other trade union president for their own remarks.
Bringing you back here in the city of Douala, some individuals have expressed their worries on government uplifting some restrictive measures put in place to fight a COVID-19 pandemic. Adjara Ali in the following report sample their opinions.
Cameroon lifting restrictive measures put in place to fight against the spread of COVID-19 is raising eyebrows to some city dwellers in the metropolitan city of Douala. Majority say the coronavirus does not disappear after 6 p.m., so easing these restrictive measures have rather compromised the health of many Cameroonians that is moving towards red light.
Moi, je crois que bon, ce que vraiment le gouvernement avait dit pour que les bars se ouvrent, moi je ne trouve pas que ce n'est pas bien. Parce que vraiment, ça va, les gens qui sont dans les bars, ils vont contaminer les autres.
Chose, les médecins et consorts ne nous ont pas encore dit que ça a été éradiqué. Bon, comme ce n'est pas, ils ne nous ont pas dit que ça a été éradiqué, nous sommes obligés toujours d'avoir peur. C'est pour ça, vous me voyez, j'ai toujours mon masque. Et comme les autorités ont dit qu'on doit toujours marcher avec le masque, cela veut dire que la pandémie y est toujours.
Even though the news was highly solicited by those who deal in restaurants and bar sector, to the man on the street, it is time to be more cautious of the pandemic.
Au début, là, ça nous a trop... donc nous étions tellement inquiets. Mais aujourd'hui, avec les mesures que le gouvernement a données, chacun essaie de faire de son mieux et on n'a pas trop tellement peur de la maladie parce que chacun porte le cache-nez, le masque et puis essaie de placer pour aller n'importe où. Bon, on essaie quand même de suivre les consignes du gouvernement.
Cameroon, as of now, has recorded over 2,000 infected cases with almost 100 deaths. Government call on population to respect basic directive to stay safe from the pandemic.
The turnover of roast meat, commonly known as soya, have slightly improved following the upliftment of the 6 p.m. barrier measures by the government. Oni Ladonet in the following report tells us that the vendors are positive of glorious days ahead. Her report.
The once crowded soya joint at the Godin neighborhood in the Douala 1 municipality is slowly losing its influence due to the outbreak of the COVID-19. Regardless of the upliftment of the 6 p.m. restriction, these sellers are still not satisfied with the situation.
The situation has not really changed because people are still afraid. You can see if you come here about from 7 o'clock at the night, you will not see anybody, so people are still very, very afraid. I don't see any changes on it. Things have really changed and things are going very, very tough and tough all the day as time goes on.
But all hope is not lost as they expect things to get better in the upcoming weeks.
Si ça a changé, ça ne peut pas changer vite comme ça là. Ça a commencé à changer un peu.
Things cannot change quickly, but we have been witnessing some changes. We know things are slow because there's no money, but things will change.
Mais alhamdulillah quand même. Alhamdulillah, ça a commencé à changer un peu.
Wearing a face mask is compulsory for both sellers and customers.
Yeah, you know, you cannot just attend to a customer without putting on a face mask because you don't know who's in front of you. He might be contaminated or you contaminating him. So we have to protect ourselves and also the customer to protect himself also. I can see we have sensitizers, we have things that when the customer comes, he wash his hands. And before you put on the face mask, before you want to eat something.
Il y a des savons, il y a l'eau à côté, il y a des hospitaliers à main à côté aussi. Oui.
We have soap, water and disinfectant. We don't sell to those without face mask. I washed mine and will use it when I start serving. A person without face mask cannot eat here because we don't know from who we can contract the disease.
Je porte ma part. Si n'a pas ça, on va le quitter. Parce que les maladies là, on ne connaît pas, on ne sait jamais.
These sellers have appreciated government's strategy against the pandemic while calling on all Cameroonians to strictly adhere to them.
I really like the way the government have put down the strategies, like working with the face masks. But when you see many people do not put on their face masks, so it's very confusing and people are afraid. So it's good for people to put their face masks so that they cannot contaminate the other people.
I'm back here in the city of Douala. In the report coming up next, Violet Sekum tells us that some Yaoundé city dwellers have condemned government action in allowing beer parlors and restaurant operate after 6 p.m. amidst the increasing number of COVID-19 in the country. Her report.
It's almost a week since some barrier measures put in place by the government were lifted and activities regained. These lifted barrier measures have caused a lot of lapses in some neighborhoods in Yaoundé, where personal preventive measures of wearing masks and social distancing is almost not seen, and one is likely to conclude COVID-19 doesn't exist in this part of Yaoundé. No, I can't put on face masks with this heat. You know it's hot now. I can't stand it. However, we could still find 1 out of 10 who is conscious of the existence of COVID-19.
C'est chacun qui connaît comment prendre ses mesures de précaution. Si l'on veut vivre pour longtemps,
Everyone knows best how to prevent themselves if they want to live long. We have to follow these measures, they are for our good. Nevertheless, others aren't comfortable with the government's decision to lift barrier measures just now.
Pour moi, la mesure que l'État a prise, je l'ai trouvée un peu très brusque. Parce que nous étions un peu déjà en train de respecter les normes.
For me, the way the government lifted the barrier measures out of a sudden isn't the best. It's like removing food from the mouth of a dog, which was about to swallow. It won't take it anymore.
Tu vas boire parce que tu cherches comment est-ce que tu vas prévenir ta génération en génération. Que d'aller à la maison contaminer madame et contaminer les enfants.
The COVID-19 pandemic in our society is still a reality as infected cases toys up every day. So we are called upon to strictly respect these required preventive measures.
As the Ramadan pushes through, some Muslim traders at the Briqueterie neighborhood that is in Yaoundé decry the effects of COVID-19 in their petty businesses. Once more, Violet Seko.
Here at the Briqueterie neighborhood of Yaoundé, known to be a Muslim quarter, where during this period of Ramadan, business of some items, which is known during this fasting season to be booming, but rather is backpedaling. Like dates and fruits, known to break the Muslims' fast, has been rendered handicapped by the COVID-19. Well, at the beginning of Ramadan, business wasn't moving at all. But for some days now, business is beginning to move.
Je vends les jus naturels. Avant, c'était bien, mais maintenant, le COVID-19
I sell natural juice, which usually booms during Ramadan, but with COVID-19, things are very tough. Not even fruits are affordable.
Regardez vous-même, je ne peux même pas m'en sortir.
Butchers aren't left out, as most complain of financial crunch, which is even rendering fasting difficult. To be sincere, business isn't moving. Though we sell, but not like before. COVID-19 has really handicapped us. At first, we could sell 3 cows daily, but COVID-19 has dragged so many businesses down. But with some lifted barrier measures, activities are slowly but surely coming back to life, which is the major prayer point of some Muslims during this fasting period.
And news out of the country, with tens of millions of Americans stuck or restricted to their homes by the coronavirus, charities that give food to the poor are struggling to meet increased demand from people cut off work. Details with VOA.
Distribution efforts are up at the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, the nerve center for hundreds of small charities that operate neighborhood food pantries and meal programs. It was already experiencing rising demand in 2019 in an area coping with homelessness and soaring rents.
That was continuing into January and February, and yeah, as far as March is concerned, we've really moved into sort of a new world now.
With the economy at a near standstill, direct food distribution programs have expanded, breaking weekly records.
700 families showing up, 800, 950 families showing up.
And more recently, into the thousands. That's because many families have lost their income and most workers are staying at home because of orders by governors and mayors. The effects are far-reaching. In normal times, food banks can send help to other needy regions.
This pandemic is affecting all 50 states. It's affecting virtually all of our food banks.
But food banks are still trying to share information.
Silicon Valley, parts of the Bay Area got hit a little bit earlier than we did. So, getting on the phone with them has been very helpful to help us prepare and try to be proactive.
On the downside, across the United States, some neighborhood food pantries have closed.
Mostly because they are run by older individuals that are now sheltering in place. So food banks have had to make up for those closures in those communities by trying to schedule mobile distributions and the like to still continue to serve those communities.
What has made matters worse, food donations are down as well. Food banks are filling the gap by buying needed items on the open market. These charities say the distribution system is strained but still intact, at least for now. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
And now in sport pundits in Cameroon say stakeholders in the country's football have more to gain if the local championship are still seen till the end. This comes following the deadline given by CAF to National Federation to submit their plan of action, if or which has not yet been made public by FECAFO. Details with John Paul Sama.
National football federations are up till the 5th of May to send their plans of action as concerns their national championships to the Confederation of African Football following a pause as a result of the coronavirus. Past that deadline, no official statement has been made by FECAFOOT, even though sources close to the federation affirm that they have sent their reply to the continent's football governing body.
Great man who once said, if I'm running for the presidency of FIFA, I don't talk to the world, I talk to delegates of FIFA, because those delegates are the ones expected to vote. I can assure you one thing, the Cameroon Football Federation has been in full work, full activity since this release came from the Secretary General of the Confederation of African Football. And the results of their working session weren't meant for the public. They are meant for the Confederation of African Football. And I can assure you that the results of that work has been submitted because yesterday was the deadline. Now, whether or not they want to communicate to Cameroonians about the resolutions of their conclave remains a decision that only the Cameroon Football Federation can decide on. So all federations on the continent submitted their proposals yesterday or before yesterday, which was the deadline. Some have made it public, some haven't.
It is also said that they are willing to ride on with the competitions, but are looking forward to the measures to be put in place by the government for school resumption next month, given that the assembly of more than 50 persons is restricted in Cameroon. They nevertheless are prioritizing the health of players, with football writers opting for a conclusion.
One, to reduce the possible litigation issues that may be raised by clubs that halting now works against them or stopping now works against them. Dragon of Yaoundé, we have lots of those clubs that are in relegation situation that still believe that they can fight for their lives in their different championships. The second reason is halting now sends a strong negative signal against the CHAN. It tells the Confederation of African Football that those who cannot host their own, they cannot organize their own competition because of the health challenges. I mean, talk less of bringing a continental competition in that country. It's the same thing with the Champions League. You look at lots and lots of events. I would conclude, in my view, by saying that it is cheaper to continue till the end than to stop at this moment in time.
If a continuation isn't an option, then an administrative end to the season might also be a possible scenario, affirmed the source close to the Federation.
That report brings us to the end of the 6 p.m. newscast on Spectrum Television. Thanks for watching and have a beautiful evening.